Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving into a truly fascinating text today, excerpts from the Siddha Vedam by Swami Sivananda ParamaHamsa. We are going to unpack a profound philosophical shift that might just completely flip how you understand concepts like good, evil, and karma. Let's jump right into this and see what the text actually has to say.
Think about it for a second. What if everything you've been taught about good and evil is just completely wrong? It's a bold question for sure. You know, in popular culture, and honestly in a lot of traditional interpretations, there's this underlying assumption that our deeds act like some sort of cosmic point system. Do good deeds, and you're rewarded by being born as a human being. Do bad deeds, and you're punished by being born as, say, an ant. But the source material we're exploring today, it challenges this foundational assumption head-on. It basically asks us to fundamentally reconsider the very definitions of virtue and sin.
Section 1. The Karma Misconception.
So the entire text is framed as a dialogue between a disciple and a teacher. And the disciple kicks things off with a very standard, popular assumption asking, how do we reap the fruits of our deeds? The disciple genuinely believes that our birth, our social standing, our worldly status, that all of these things are direct rewards or punishments for actions we took in past lives. If you're wealthy, well, it's because you were deeply virtuous before. You've probably heard variations of this yourself, right? If you're suffering or born as an animal, it's because of past sins. It sounds logical on the surface, but the teacher completely dismantles this.
The teacher points out a massive flaw in the popular belief that past lives dictate our current status. I mean, think about it. We have absolutely zero memory of these supposed past lives. How can we possibly know we were ants or kings? The teacher insists that there's simply no use in believing things outside of our direct awareness. Instead, we must only trust what we know through shruti, which means hearing, yukti, which is reason, and anubhavam, which is direct experience. The takeaway? If you can't reason it or experience it, you really shouldn't blindly believe it.
Moving on to Section 2. One shared life force.
Okay, so if our physical bodies aren't some kind of cosmic grading system based on past lives, what exactly are they? Here, the teacher reveals a stunning concept, jiva. Jiva is the single life force shared by absolutely all creatures. From the tiniest ant crawling on the ground right up to human beings, the core energy is exactly the same. The physical differences we see all around us, the different shapes, the different bodies, they aren't punishments or rewards. They're merely echoes and reflections of the exact same internal energy flowing outward. The ant and the human are fundamentally powered by the same universal spark.
Which brings us to Section 3, the myth of kings. Because if everyone shares the exact same jiva, we kind of have to rethink worldly hierarchies. The disciple argues that kings and rich men must be the absolute embodiment of virtue, totally free from sin. The teacher agrees that a true divine king, someone who reaches the highest virtue by concentrating their energy within to connect with Ishvara or God, would indeed be free from sin and illness. But look at actual worldly rulers. They're incredibly susceptible to diseases like consumption, diabetes, and paralysis. Furthermore, they didn't get their land through supreme virtue, they got it through brute force, literally annexing land that is meant to be common to all living beings. Therefore, they cannot possibly be the sinless beings the disciple imagines them to be.
The text even provides a stark historical example to prove this point, referencing the 1921 Mapala Rebellion and a figure named Kunhi Ahmed Haji. The teacher describes him as a known depredator with criminal convictions who used force to wage war and butcher people. The teacher then asks the disciple this: if this man had succeeded in his rebellion, what would his title be? The disciple has to admit he would be called a Raja, a king. The source material uses this to firmly establish that worldly power often stems directly from wickedness, brute force, and human endeavor, not from a special divine creation or a reward for a sinless past.
Section 4. The Wealth of Life.
All right, now that the external myths of karma and kingship are thoroughly shattered, let's look at the true internal framework for what good and evil actually mean based on the Siddha Vedam. First up, we have sukrita, also known as punya, which is often translated as good deeds or virtue. The disciple actually thought this meant giving gifts of food or performing rituals. But the teacher says, no, sukrita is supreme virtue, and it is strictly internal. It is the active concentration and storing of life energy, referred to as vayu, and knowledge within oneself. True virtue isn't about external charity at all. It's about actively preserving your own internal life force.
Conversely, we have dushkrita, or papa, which translates to sin. Now this is crucial. Sin is not necessarily doing bad things to other people in their traditional sense. Sin is the release, evaporation, and exhaustion of your own life energy into the outside world. The text compares it to water turning into vapor and smoke. When your energy evaporates into various outward thoughts and actions, it literally wastes away. And when that life energy is fully exhausted, the ultimate result is death. Therefore, sin is quite literally the destruction of your own life.
To make this incredibly clear, the teacher uses a brilliant metaphor. Imagine the body as a treasure box. Step 1 is the physical box itself, your body. Step 2 is the wealth inside that box. That wealth is sukritha, your inner life energy. Step 3 is squandering the wealth. Every single time you allow your mind and energy to wander and exhaust themselves in the outside world, you are basically throwing your money out of the box. And finally, step 4, when all the wealth is spent, what is left? Just an empty box, a corpse. Death occurs simply because the internal wealth of value has been totally exhausted.
Section 5. Conserving your inner energy.
So how do we bring this deep philosophy into our practical daily lives? Well, it all connects to a very profound interpretation of self-love. The teacher asks the disciple a pivotal question. If you truly love your life, why would you waste it outside? The disciple obviously admits they love their life and don't want to die. The teacher points out the undeniable logic here. If you truly love yourself, you naturally want to preserve yourself. Therefore, you wouldn't squander your vital energy on external distractions. You would keep your energy safely concentrated within.
The teacher then offers one final, beautiful architectural metaphor to explain how this internal focus relates to how we treat others. He says, imagine a house with 2 floors. So long as you are in that high level, you can see everything. But when you come down, you get in touch with the world outside, and you can harm any individual. By keeping your energy concentrated within yourself, essentially staying on that elevated upper floor of your own consciousness, you remain an observer. Because you aren't tangling yourself in the outside world, you are physically and spiritually incapable of doing harm to others. You achieve true virtue and harmlessness effortlessly, simply by maintaining your inner wealth.
Which brings us to the end of our explainer today. I want to leave you with this final, truly provocative question. Are you concentrating your energy or squandering your wealth? The Siddha Vedam challenges us to look at every thought and action not as a tick mark on a cosmic karma scoreboard, but as a direct energetic transaction. Every single day you have a treasure box of life force. How are you spending it? I highly encourage you to reflect on this profound perspective. Thank you so much for joining me today as we unpacked this incredible source material. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I will see you next time.